friends. Good afternoon. It's Linda or Sophia Brings Light. That is the name of my channel, Sophia Brings Light. And I just like to come to you today. It was a couple of things on my mind, so I thought, hey, let's just have a chit chat and discuss those things that have been on my mind. Um, One of them is talking about being a solitary practitioner and why I am a solitary practitioner. I'm going to back up a little bit and just say that if you can look on my YouTube channel, you can see that I really don't have a lot of, uh, I have some views, but not a lot of followers. So this has become like a grimoire of sorts of my spiritual traveling and my spiritual journey. So I use it as that, as such. And so I'm hoping that will help me kind of see my progress over the years, because I'm going to keep on going, whether I have numbers or not. And just sharing my thoughts and being a part of the YouTube community as a spiritual practitioner, as a metaphysician, as an alchemist, and my journey in that. Part of my journey is studying quite a bit and reading a lot. The other part of my journey is meditating and receiving downloads of information. And when I receive information, I call it downloads. People call it different things. But a part of my spiritual journey is being a solitary practitioner. And there is pros and cons to being a solitary practitioner. A lot of times you don't always have people to bounce off ideas or anything like that. You may not be initiated into a particular lineage or anything like that. Those are maybe some of the downsides. And the socialization, the education that you can get maybe from gleaning from other people's knowledge, the background that you can get. Those may be some of the negatives of being a solitary practitioner. The positives, which are to me more beneficial to me. I'm not speaking for other people, and I'm not knocking anybody that is in a group, a coven, or whatever. That is your choice. That is how you practice. I feel like each of us goes on this journey, and what works for you. At this time in my life, I'm almost 60 years old. I don't mind being in groups, and I am in a couple of online groups, and I like that participation, but ultimately, I'm still a solitary practitioner. What I do love about it is the freedom that I have to with my spirituality. There is nothing like that, and I'm a eclectic solitary practitioner, meaning that I get from this, I get from that, I get from these, I get from my history and my roots. I get a lot from that. I get a lot from my ancestors. And all of that comes together to bring me knowledge, and I receive downloads from divine, from the creator, from God. I receive regular downloads, which I am so grateful and humbled that I receive these downloads of information that I feel that are vital to my practice. And sometimes this is another reason why I'm on the YouTube, is I like to share these downloads with other people. And when you go to a smorgasbord, you look at whatever is on there and you take what you like. Same thing with anything I pass on in this channel. You can review, take, research, take what you like and use as you wish. That is to me, that's the whole thing of why I love being a spiritual being, is that I have to me, a more divine, a closer connection to the divine. I have a closer connection to God. I spend time with him regularly, and I say that as a pronoun, but I feel like God has a male and a female aspect to him. Her, God. And it's more than a form, in that God, the essence of who God is in me. So I am the most powerful part of me is a part that is connected to him and realizes every day that I am a piece, even if it's a microscopic piece of who he is or who she is, if I choose to say that, he or she. Okay, well, saying that, I had a download today. So I talked about being, because sometimes I get all over the place, not trying to rant, but just my thought process. So I'll go back to being a solitary practitioner and why I personally love being a solitary practitioner. I'm at this age, I'm really going to be honest. I'm not too good at taking orders from other people or, you know, bowing down to the humanness of other people. That's a personal thing, maybe a place where I need to grow some from. I don't mind serving, and I don't mind doing things for other people, but I don't want to be, I feel like my spiritual growth would be thwarted or decreased if I kind of had to do things the same way everybody else did, or because I'm in a certain group, I have to only do this. To me, that's sort of just kind of like the whole thing with religion. And why I'm choosing spirituality over religion is because I have the freedom to worship, to be who I am in God, to do the things that call to me and call to my spirit. And it's a very personal and a very private journey, but a journey that I am so enjoying that it would be hard for me to give up this newfound freedom. Not saying that 5 or 10 years down the road that I may be in another place. Not saying that I wouldn't enjoy participating in some things with a more structured group. Not saying that. But where I am now, I feel like I found like a new found freedom to truly be who I am called to be, by God, by spirit, to have the freedom to try things in the spirit realm that I've either been afraid, always knew they were there, but a little bit fearful of trying, and that fear is gone now. Now it's more of a respect and a reverence for how far I choose to go. So, that being said, those are the benefits to me for being a spiritual practitioner that is a solitary practitioner and an eclectic practitioner. As an eclectic practitioner, I enjoy one, researching and finding different things and trying this, trying that, trying those things that call to me. So I practice some things from the hoodoo. Mostly, I'm going to be honest, I practice most things from a hoodoo type of tradition. But I read other things, and if that sounds good, I try that. And I am guided. I say spirit, intuition. I'm guided by spirit into what really works for me. I do a lot of documentation as far as, well, this worked for me, and I tried this and it didn't work, and this does work. So in a sense, I really consider myself like a spiritual scientist, if it were such a thing. That would kind of describe me, and being eclectic and borrowing from this or researching that and saying, okay, no, that doesn't work for me, that isn't called to me, and doing those things has really been beneficial to me, beneficial to my spiritual growth, and I like it. And then it takes you to the subject of appropriation of different cultures. And a part of me feels like, being in America, we're all we are just all a big old melting pot. And though, I feel like we have to be careful and be respectful when we, what can you say but borrow from another culture, that you do that with knowledge, respect, and dignity if you do. And also recognizing the culture in which you've maybe drawn some things from, whether that be knowledge, wisdom, trying something different and adding to it. You have to be respectful. You have to have the knowledge and the wisdom about that, and that you are respectful in giving honor and recognition to the culture that you received that from, that it wasn't your idea, that this isn't, because most of us, if you look through history, there are really very few original ideas. Most of us have borrowed, have added some things to made it better for us to things. So I'm not one of those that's gonna, tear people down because they appropriated some things that may be from my culture, and I'm more from a hoodoo tradition. I'm sorry about couldn't get that out. More of a hoodoo tradition. Lord help me. I'm gonna try to get it out. A hoodoo tradition. It won't come out. A hoodoo tradition. Okay, so I'm more from that, and that is probably why I have an eclectic practice, and a lot of my people. And who I even learned all this from was my great grandmother, and she was from Louisiana, and a lot of my people are either from Alabama or Louisiana. So those are the deep Southern roots that, I grew up with a lot of this stuff and a lot of this knowledge. And at the time I was growing up, some things I was very aware of, that this wasn't what other people did, because a lot of people came and had consults with my grandmother. Came for work. She was a root worker. Wasn't nothing else you could call that, but it said she was a root worker, and people came to her for work, and I was very aware of that. A lot of those traditions have been passed down, and I do honor those traditions, and I feel like a lot of those, I didn't realize that until I was grown, how sacred those traditions are, and I'm blessed to have learned some things from my grandmother, my great grandmother, and though they were Christian, and I feel like a part of me will always be Christian. I'll always go back. That's a base and a root for me, just as a hoodoo is a base and a root for me. I'll always be that. For me, that's how I feel now. And as I said, this is a spiritual journey. For now, this is how I feel. I just remember receiving a lot of information, and a lot of things in our family we just took for granted that was the way it was. It wasn't until I grew up and interacted with other people and other families that I realized, hey, they don't do that. Or, nobody comes to the house and just say, hey, I gotta see your grandmother or whatever. That's not a part of other people's lives. When you grow up that way, it's a part of your life. So you don't know any different. You don't see anything different. It just is the way it is. And so when you grow up like that and you interact with other people, it was a time when I felt like, it just is what it is. I didn't honor it. It just was. It was how our family was, and you didn't think about it. Some things were very traditional, and then we went to church, and some things were not very traditional, and then we went to church. But it wasn't until I got older, and much older, probably in the last 15 years, that I realized the importance and the sacredness of some of the things that I grew up thinking that was just how it was, when it were really sacred times that I spent with my grandmother, her showing me things and telling me things, things that I wished I would have honored more, wrote down, though I did, document some things back then, but I didn't realize the sacredness of what I was being taught, or what I saw, or what I heard. I didn't realize the sacredness of that. And now, as I'm older, almost 60 years old, I realize, wow, how much further I'd be along had I realized and not taken for granted the sacredness of the things that I learned. That being said, then I just want to go on to the importance of our ancestors, and us, really what they want from us is for us to honor, to respect, and to have gratitude for all that they've done for us. That's ultimately, that's the most that they want. And I was meditating today, and some things came to me that I just like to share. And like I said, anything that I do on this channel or say on this channel, if it resonates with you, then please feel free that is a something that we've shared and